Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of This Week in Irish History. I'm Dan Murphy. With me today, Blue and Gold Senior Editor Lou Somogyi. As we do every week, we're going to take a trip back in time. This time we're going a good 40 years back to 1973, one of Notre Dame's more recent national championship seasons. And Notre Dame started the year a little bit later. The second week of September was their season opening game. They took on Northwestern and came out with a 44-0 win. Lou, there's a lot of reasons why that game was a little bit significant. One of them was the quarterback Tom Clements was playing with a little bit extra on his heart that day.
Yeah, one of the tragic stories ever in a Notre Dame game, the day before the 1973 opener, Clements' younger sister, 14-year-old Alice, was walking back home in McCree's Rock, Pennsylvania, got struck by an automobile and was in a coma. So he went into Saturday's game not knowing whether she was going to live and die, and the word had been received through a priest with Dr. Harry Clements' father that she had indeed passed away, and they decided to withhold it until after the game. And Tom played a phenomenal game, 9 of 12 passing, 152 yards, ran for 2 touchdowns. They were leading 37-0 at halftime, didn't even have to play the second half, won 44-0. But after the game, he received the news, and we always talk about losses and everything being a great tragedy and calamity, even in victory. Sometimes the greatest tragedies really occur, and I remember that. I was 11 years old, Dan. I don't think your parents had even graduated from high school or anything like that, or grade school, but I remember it like yesterday, and there was just such a somber mood that even though you won, you felt so bad for Tom and his family.
That was a big win for that team coming off of last year. They hadn't played since the Orange Bowl, which was a 40-6 loss a year before that. How important was it for them to get off to a good start there?
Well, I guess you can identify with it a little bit because you're coming off that Alabama loss, 42-14 this year, and it keeps you concentrating throughout the off season that, hey, there's a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, there's demonstration last week against Michigan that there's still a lot of work to do. But one of the things you had in that '73 team, it was very young in '72, and now you had a couple freshmen come in. They really needed to fill the key spots. One was Ross Browner at defensive end, future first-round pick, and the other was at safety with Luther Bradley, who many schools recruited as a running back. And those two were kind of the missing links on defense from the previous year when they really had so many struggles to stop people, and they got some automatic speed both in the front line and in the defensive backfield, and it proved to be a program changer because Notre Dame went on to win the national title.
Obviously a very definitive win to start the season. Was it clear then that this team was a national title contender?
No, absolutely not, because you go through the same things. Once you establish a program like Notre Dame did under Eric Parsegian, who was in his 10th season that year, it's like all those games against the Northwesterns or everyone else was like almost tune-ups. The only game that were judged was the USC game. They hadn't beaten USC in 6 years. So it was always that, yeah, you beat Northwestern, but let's see when you get to that big game what happens. And we can talk about big games in the future.
Right, so this week actually it's fitting the 1973 team. They'll be in town for the Michigan State game this upcoming weekend, so they'll get a chance to relive that 40th year anniversary of winning a championship. That's going to be it for us today from This Week in Irish History. Join us every week during the season as we relive some of Notre Dame's biggest wins or biggest losses or whatever it may be. But for now, I'm Dan Murphy for Lou Somogyi. Thanks for joining us.